discuss a very interesting topic which was suggested by the group, somebody in the group, right? Ruby wanted to discuss, even though he's not here today, but okay. So Ruby will send this video to you as soon as you I don't know, get back online or wake up. So we're going to discuss a topic which he suggested called temptation. Okay, and also I want to throw in the word love. So we discuss the topic of love and temptation. Okay, so if you have any question, guys, just throw them at me, and then we'll discuss that but try to keep on topic to those subjects of love and temptation. We'll talk a little about getting married and stuff like that are, it's important for you guys to know. Okay, because if you guys don't know the mechanics of love, then it's very difficult to get into a relationship, Because I'll tell you the truth is that we're taught a lot of things, as we're grown up. We're taught how to take care of ourselves. We're taught how to eat. We're taught how to take a bath. We're taught how to work. We're taught how to think. But we're not really told how to get married. We never go to school to learn interpersonal relationships between people. Those are skills that you pick up as you go along. But the problem is sometimes you get sometimes people are not so skilled at dealing with other people, and it has to do with their traits, their character traits, and so on and so forth. So what we're going to try to learn a little bit is about interpersonal relationships, how to care for somebody else, and so on and so forth. Those are tools that you'll need before you get married. Really, this is something.
Is it possible for a person to be ready to get married?
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. There are obviously degrees. Some people are more ready to get married. Some people are less ready to get married. Some people think they're ready to get married, and that's what we're going to discuss. This erroneous thought that sometimes we think we're totally ready, we totally found the right person, and really it's not the right person for you, and you're totally not ready to get married. So we're going to see what the criteria for all that is. Okay? And also we'll discuss obviously the temptations that come around relationships and what we call illicit relationships as well. And hopefully have some keys in how to get us out of these problems, which is a natural problem. So let's first discuss about love. Now, I want to tell you something very, very nice that I saw written in the name of Rabbi Turutsky. Rabbi Turutsky? He's a doctor, a psychologist.
Sounds like a famous name.
He's a famous guy. He's written a lot of books, and he's written something really. He said something recently which I want to talk to you about. Okay. Now, what is that? He talks about something called fish love. You ever hear this before? This notion called fish love?
Never.
Joe?
Sorry, my speaker broke.
You're broke. But I can see you. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, tell me, Joe, have you ever heard about this concept called fish love?
No, I've never heard of that.
You never heard of it? Oh, wow.
No.
Okay, so let's discuss this, right? So let me tell a little funny story, okay? So there's once upon a time, this rabbi was walking down the lake. He was just taking a little walk, okay? We're just making up this story. And he sees this guy fishing. And he's so impressed to see this guy, how good this guy is at fishing. He's fishing and he's taking out the fish and others. And he's just watching going, wow, this guy's so talented, It's really impressive. And what does he do? He takes this fish and he looks at it. These fishes, when you take them out of the water, they're still wiggling away. So what does he take? He takes a little hammer, boom, on the head, knocks out the fish, throws him in boiling hot water, cooks him up, cuts him up, takes out the fins and the scales, and then spices it up and then just gobbles it up. And then the rabbi goes up to him and he says, wow, that's pretty amazing that, you have such skill and like that. You must, be so talented at fishing, a lot of experience. And he said to him, the rabbi said to him, so why do you do this? And so the guy turns around to him, he says, because I love fish. I love fish. And the rabbi said, do you really love fish? And he said, yeah, I'm telling you, I love fish. I do this all the time. I go fishing every single morning, and then I get this fish, and I boil it up, and I eat it. I love it. And the rabbi said, really, to be honest, it doesn't look like you love fish. It really looks like you love yourself.
Yeah.
And the rabbi said, and the guy said to him, what do you mean love myself? We're talking about fish here. And he said to him, no, what I meant to say is that you love the taste of fish. You love the way the fish makes you feel. Right? And he said, no, I really love the fish. He said, so if you really love the fish, says the rabbi, why are you killing that poor fish and throwing him in boiling hot water and eating him up? If you really love that poor fish, you wouldn't have killed it. And the guy took the points. So what do we learn from that little story? That a lot of people
Don't eat something you love.
That sounds like a story of Party Boy.
Party boy.
What?
What's party boy?
That sounds like a guy going out every night fishing, and then going to sleep. Sleeping with someone, and then next day again.
Well, okay. What? All right. Very good. Okay. So what does that mean for us? Because everybody's looking out for what? Everybody's looking out for love. No?
Nice out.
Self.
Everybody's looking for love. No, everybody wants in a relationship, right? Doesn't just want to sit there loving himself, right? Self-love, but everybody wants a relationship with somebody else. It could be bonding with two guys, friends, or two girls together, going out and having a good time, watching a movie together, whatever. Or relationship-wise, getting married-wise. Everybody's looking for some type of love from their parents, from their spouses, or whatever. But a lot of time, this love is fish love. Now, what does that mean, fish love? It means because a lot of young couples say that I'm in love with that woman. That girl really turns me on. I love her so much. And she'll say, yeah, I love him. But really, what do they mean by that? What do they actually mean by that? What they actually mean by that, in most cases, not in all cases, is that they find qualities in that particular person which gives them a lot of gratification. For example, the boy who'll say, wow, she's a gorgeous girl, she's beautiful. She gives me a lot of, enticement. She's very desirable looking. Or she's very smart. Intellectually, she makes me feel good. Emotional wise, physically wise. And she'll say the same thing. Yeah, he's big and strong. I get a lot of security from him. And he's handsome, makes me feel good in public, walking around with this guy. So what is this boy and this girl actually saying? They're actually saying that the other person serves a purpose for their own gratification. The girl feels important walking around with such a big, strong guy. It makes her feel good. And the boy, he likes showing off his girlfriend. It makes him feel good. Nothing to do with the actual girl. So there was this very, and that's what we call fish love, because you're doing it for your own self-purposes, selfish reasons. Okay,
Right.
that's why those are the qualities you look for that make you happy. So let's discuss real love. What's real love? Not fish love. Real love is that love is actually the technical thing for the word for love in Hebrew is ahava. Ahava. Now, in Aramaic, hav is to give, means to give. So love really means a process of giving between two individuals.
So giving your heart, like giving.
Giving your heart, giving your energy, giving your time, giving your money. Anything of giving creates a feeling of true love.
Being diligent.
Diligent,
Yeah,
right. Investing in, for example, in children. You have a tremendous love for children. When you give to them. Now, how does that work exactly? What does giving have to do with the feeling of love and bonding between that person? Because it's like this. When you give something of yourself to somebody else, you feel you're part of them. Because, for example, your money. So you take your money out of your pocket, and you give that money, that hard worked money that you worked yourself for, which belongs to you, it's a part of you now, that money, you're giving it away. That means that other person actually has part of you in them. You understand? Your time is precious. Your time is something even more precious than money, because your time, you can't replace time. You can replace money and material goods, but you can't replace time. So when you give your time to somebody, which is part of you, that person, invested in that person, is your time. So you start seeing yourself in that person. You become like that person. And of course, it's, you love yourself, right? You love yourself. That's a natural. You dress yourself nicely. You take care of yourself. You spoil yourself. And so you love yourself. So therefore, if you love yourself, you're going to love the other person, because you gave of yourself to that person. That person becomes part of you. Do you understand how it works psychologically and technically? That's the way it works.
So it's like opening your life, like completely sharing everything.
That's right. That is true love. At that point, when you can give of yourself to the other person, you become attached to the other person becomes you, and vice versa. You become like the other person. And then at that point, magical things happen. You start thinking like that person. You can finish off the sentence of that person, because you become one bondedly, not only physically, but also...
Chill, man. Chill.
No, that's true.
Metaphysically, you become attached to that person. You understand? So, a lot of people say, you love to those, no, you give to those who you love, right? You ever hear that expression? You give to those who you love. You love your family, you give to them. You love your children, you give to them. You love your friends, you give to them, right? But it's not true. The truth is, you love those who you give. Because once you give to them, you become attached to that person, becomes you. That person is carrying within them a part of you, part of your money, part of your time, part of your chesed, whatever you gave to them. So therefore, you'll start loving those to who you give. Not that you give to those who you love. That's not the way it works. Those children, why do you give your children first over everybody else? Why do your parents give you more than anybody else off the street? Because they're part and parcel of who you are, of who they are, right? Your father, you are like a miniature of your father and mother, right? And because of that, because they see the reflection of them inside of them, you inside of them, that's why they give you. So you give to those who you love, you love those who you give, not that you give to those who you love.
Right. Makes sense.
Make sense?
You love those you give, not you give those you love. Got it.
That's very important. So
basically, everyone you give, you love.
You'll love. That's right. Obviously, love's in different levels, right? You love the poor guy that you give on the street some money. You love him because he's part of you now. I'm invested with you. Okay, but obviously, when you give to your wife or your girlfriend, whatever, you love her on a much higher level, because you're investing more. Okay, just remember that. So going into a relationship, it's important not to try to look only where the gratification is going to come from her looks, from her good. You need all that, obviously. I'm not saying you don't. Don't get me wrong. You need to be attracted to the other person. You need to feel comfortable with the other person. You have to feel that the person's on your level of intelligence. You need all that. But it has to go the next step. Not that the person now, okay, I'm sitting back now, you come and gratify me, dress nicely, stimulate me, and take care of me. But rather is, what can I do for you now? Now that I've found all those basics that attract me to you, your looks, your personality, your good character traits, and all that, good family, now that we got that out of the way, what can I do to build love? All the other ones are just desires and wants and lusts. But after you clean the surface, then you move into building love in the relationship. And a lot of people forget that, and that's why most of the marriages fail nowadays. Because they're not willing to put in the work to build in the relationship. That's the major problem. Everybody's saying, what can you do for me? Right? What can you buy for me? What can you, where can you take me? And how can you please me? Please me, always looking for the gratification. But you don't understand, the way you'll get all that is by giving. By giving, you get. By giving, you'll get the love back, as we said.
Right,
You
so opening
love
your
to
heart,
those
like,
who give. That's
like
right.
opening your heart to people.
That's right. By opening your heart and giving of your heart, not just opening up your heart, but giving of what's in your heart, your love, your
Right.
patience, your time, your money, whatever it is, that's going to create bond, and that's going to reciprocate back into your life. You know, there's a very interesting law, the third law in science. Anybody studies science in school?
Never paid attention.
Never pay attention. Now
It was
pay
so
attention
long
because it's very practical here. It's the third Newtonian law in physics. And that is, listen to this, it's a very interesting law. The law goes like follows, that whatever action you take will
Opposite reaction, no?
will create an opposite equal reaction.
So
Maybe I was listening without listening.
Excellent, Joey. Listen to this. You know the famous balls on the strings? I think they call them the Newtonian balls. That means like
the
this.
ones that bounce.
That's right. No, yeah, that's right.
yeah.
You know those balls? They have strings, and then you have like 5 balls, and you move
Yeah,
one,
they hit each other, right?
it hit the other one. Boom, boom, boom,
The
boom.
sharper image item.
Okay, so you see that law of physics in action, because as soon as you move one ball, there's a equal reaction by the other ball. You move two will move. You move 3. Remember, there's only 5 balls. If you move 3 balls to the right, how many on the left will move? 3.
3.
Even though there's only 2 balls, so 3 will hit the 2, but one of the thirds will move with it.
Wow.
Is that amazing? If you move 4, but remember, you only have 5 balls. If you move 4 balls up to the right, they'll hit the 1 ball left, but 4 will move. 3 will join the 4th and will move upwards to the left.
That's insane.
It's an amazing thing. You have to see it. I'll show you. In this clip, I'll put an example of that. But that's the law, the third law of motion from the Newtonian physics, that whatever action you make will have an equal reaction. And where do you see this as well? Not so much here, but in space, for example, where there's no friction. So if you're in space, imagine, and you have a friend in front of you, and you're both floating in air, if you want to move backwards, for example, let's say let's say you're both facing each other. This is you, and this is your friend. And if you want to move backwards to this direction, what you have to do is that you got to push your friend this way to the left.
Create a force, no?
Create a force, and that will create a counter force and push you backwards. It's counterintuitive, because you would think if I want to move this way, I have to try to push myself to the right if I want to move right. No, what you got to do is create a force counterintuitive to you, that means to the left, and that will push you to the right. Again, that force of physics in play. What does that mean for us in our discussion over here about love and relationships and marriage? Is that if you want something to come your way, for example, you want your wife or your girlfriend to be extra kind to you, what do you got to do? You got to be extra kind to her, and the laws of physics which apply to this,
basically it'll rebound back to you.
Exactly, it will rebound to you that exact amount of kindness that you did towards her or your parents or whatever the case is.
So this is like karma a little bit. Well, we don't believe, but like
True. Yes. The Indians have this notion called karma.
Beautiful notion, though.
Yeah, we believe it as well,
Whatever
because
you
in
put
Jew
out there is gonna come back at you.
exactly,
You know,
whatever
that
goes
negative,
the English
might become negative.
right, even non-secular people, they have this saying called whatever goes around comes around. You ever hear that?
Exactly.
We have that in Judaism. We call it midah keneged midah. Whatever, we have that in Judaism. It's part of Chazal, our teachings in Judaism. So therefore, whatever goes around, comes around. It's called mida kineged mida. Whatever you give out, you get back. Very, very applicable to marriage. Very applicable. So therefore, whatever you're going to give to your marriage is going to create the love, and that love energy is going to come right back in your face. So do that, guys. Whatever think of it as a trick. So whatever you want from your wife, don't ask her directly, give me this, I want this, but rather do it to her, and then she'll, even subconsciously, she'll reciprocate and give whatever you want back.
What about like in life, other things?
Exactly. A rule's a rule, Elliot. It happens in finance as well.
Yeah, if you give someone 10 grand, you want 10 grand back.
You'll see it works. You'll
That's
see
alone.
it works. It works. That means you're doing chesed to somebody. The power of chesed, that energy of chesed, of kindness, will slap you back in the face, and sometimes twice fold. That's the rule of mida keneged mida.
Yeah, sometimes I laugh. I look up at Hashem when he does like a thing to me, and I'm like, oh my God, I know what that was for, you know? And I
Yeah.
It's good that you notice.
I always notice, thank God.
That's right. That's a gift. That's a gift to notice what's called hashgacha pratit, to notice these signs from heaven, hashgacha pratit, to notice that you have to be on a certain level as well, because other people say, oh, it's coincidence. It happened to
No
happen.
coincidences.
Coincidence.
Right after I tell someone I hate them, I stub my toe into my toe, I cry like a little girl. Coincidence? No, sir, it's not.
Right, you stub your toe, and then you get, something hits you
No,
in the
my
face.
rabbi in high school told me, he said, and it always stuck with me, he said, stubbing your toe is a blessing. I was like, what are you talking about, Rabbi? He's like, it means that Hashem is still there, still showing you he cares. I was like, Rabbi, what are you saying? I'm talking about hurting my toe. He's like, one day you will understand. Now I always crack up every time I stub my toe.
Right. One day you'll understand what does this mean exactly. So let me give you an example of that. For example, in the beginning of the Parsha Bereshit, there's a wonderful story of Adam Rishon, we know, and about the snake. The snake entices Adam Rishon and his wife to eat from the Etz Hadat. And what happens over there? What was the curse that Hashem gave to the snake? What was the curse? The curse was...
He had legs and everything, right? The snake originally?
Yeah, originally he was like a man. He had legs, he was walking around. He was perfectly like a human being. But what was his curse? His curse was that Hashem removed his legs. And he said to him, now you're going to eat from the dust from the floor.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's going to be your food and your parnassah and everything. So so it sounds pretty harsh for the snake. But listen to this. The rabbis asked a question over there, and they said they don't understand. You know how hard it is to make parnassah, to make a living nowadays. It's not easy. There's such competition. It's cutthroat. It's cutthroat. It's so difficult. You imagine if you had a magic power to make the earth tastes sweet, like the man. In the desert, when they went into the desert, they had nothing to eat, and Hashem made this funny, this type of marshmallows come down called the man, and they were able to eat it, and it tasted delicious. It tasted like anything you wanted. It tasted like steak. It tasted like chocolate. It tasted like ice cream. It tasted like roast beef. Anything you wanted, you say it, and you put it in your mouth to taste it. It was only like marshmallows. It was like you pop it into your mouth, a little pill, and you were satisfied.
He gave you the exact amount. If you ate more, the bread would go no good, right?
Exactly. It was the right amount. It's special bracha, special blessing. You imagine if the ground was like that. You're hungry, you got no food, you got no patience, you're going crazy. What I'm having to feed my family. You imagine you had a special wand. You take some sand or some earth and you hit it, and it becomes whatever you want. What a blessing! You don't have to work anymore. You understand? Your life is set. That was the curse that the snake got. But that's not a curse. That's a blessing. What do you mean? That snake doesn't have to go to work anymore. He doesn't have to wake up anymore. He just has to wake up, roll out of bed, eat a bit of dirt, and that's it. He's sorted for life. So why is the Torah call that a curse for the snake? You know what the answer is? The answer is the curse is that he doesn't need Hashem anymore.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that he doesn't need to ask.
He doesn't need to ask. He has no more.
Oh,
He's
he
cut
gave
off.
him what he gave him his purpose, and that's it.
That's it. He's cut off. No more purpose. Don't ask me for anything. Just take the money and run. You know, imagine.
Wow, so the snakes are really here alone.
That's it.
Snakes.
I'm saying,
They're cut off. They've been lowered a level to animal state. That means we are at a state where, you know, there's there's inanimate level, like rocks. There's the vegetation state, which is higher, they're living. Then you have the animal state that they have a higher state of living, but they can't speak. And then you have the highest form of living, which is called the human state, which we have the power of speaking, praying, asking, loving, and all that. Specifically speaking, the snake was sent down a level in state of living to the state of an animal. And therefore, he doesn't have the power to connect to Hashem like we do, which is the source of all blessing, isn't it? You imagine Hashem's not in your life anymore? What a boring life. You don't understand. Just having a normal life and not having the possibilities of uplifting yourself and spiritual upliftment and all that in the next world as well, in portions and all that, he's missing all that out. That was the curse that the snake got. That was the problem over here. And that's why I was telling you, Joe, when you can notice things that happen to you, you speak bad to somebody and you stump your foot on the whatever on the
it's directly correlated.
you see the correlation, and see, animals don't have that intuitive thinking power. That was the curse, but you have the bracha. Okay, now let's move over to the next part of the class that we talked about. Illicit love. Illicit love, meaning love relationships which are not permitted. Now the question is,
Talking about before.
sorry?
Is that what I was talking about before about when I said whatever?
Well, let's discuss it.
Marriage relations, like stuff like that.
Beginning, like it's like
No, you got the permitted, relationships, marriage. You get married to a woman. Then you have the illicit, meaning that these are relationships that you meet a woman, whatever. A woman meets a man and has a relationship with them, which is not prescribed in the Torah. Okay, and therefore the question is, everybody has urges. Okay, everybody has certain urges that they need to fulfill. And these are very, very powerful desires of lust and desires. These type of desires and need. It could be lust not only for women or men. It could be lust for food, and therefore people get overweight because they cannot control the lust for food, their desire for food, and or desire for smoking or drugs. These are addictions that we're talking about that are so ingrained in our personal subconscious that they drive us to do crazy things at times, right? To become drug addicts, overweight, and totally in lust that we can't even control ourselves. Can you relate to what I'm talking about here?
100%.
You understand? The question is, how do we control that? How do we control that?
Please tell me.
Please tell me. All I can do is give you some tools, some very practical tools that we'll speak about now, which will help you, which won't cure you, because if you cure, you don't have to be here anymore, because the whole point of life is challenges, and to get over those challenges, that's what Hashem wants to see from us over here. If it was a challenge-free life, then we wouldn't be here, right? So guys, these are only tools, and it's up to your free choice in order to make them work for you, okay? Now, the first thing we have to understand is, for example, let's talk about this category of lust for women or men, okay? Let's say you're either in a marriage, and even if you're not in a marriage, and you want to sleep with a particular man or woman before marriage, which according to Jewish law is wrong, and should be doing that. So first of all, you got to think, in order to help you get over that urge and that lust, is to think about the ramifications of what's going to happen to you when that happens. Who's joining us now? One second, we got a new join member. Who's that?
Yeah.
Jackie, how are you?
What's up? want to chime in at the end of the class.
Yeah, we love you, Jack.
Jack, we love you. Thanks for coming. Thanks for
We love
joining. So right now, Jack, we're talking about lust and how to gain control of the lust factor, which all drive us crazy.
Of course.
Okay? Now, lust could be lust for drugs, lust for food, lust for illicit relationships. It could be all that in category. We're going to talk about relationships that we should not be going after. For example, before getting married and sleeping with either men or women, those according to the Torah law is prohibited. And therefore, even in, morally, even if you don't prescribe to Torah law, but morally it's not something you should be doing because we'll see for the different factors that it won't make you feel good. So first thing, in order to overcome this tremendous lust factor, you have to understand, you have to bear in mind how you'll feel afterwards. And this will change your decision whether to go for or not go for it. So the first key tool here when we want to discuss is guilt. The guilt factor. So before you get into an illicit relationship, think about the guilt, how you'll feel afterwards, and the ramifications. So you imagine that whatever, you go out in a club and you get all really thing, and then you meet some girl, and then, you want to be with her. Now that pleasure that you'll get for the 30 minutes that you'll be with her or with him, is it worth the temporary fleeting pleasure? Is that worth it the next morning when you look at this strange face and feel the disgust that how you lowered yourself to do such an act? Is it worth it? Guilt. That's tool number one. How will you feel the next
Guilt's
morning?
a gift.
It's a gift. That's right, Jack. It's a gift in order to stop you from doing things you regret the next morning. The conscience of a person. That's right. Okay. That's number one. Number two is you have to understand the status of a Jewish man and a Jewish woman. Our status in the Torah tells us that we are Am Sigula, that we are a special nation. That's a privilege, guys. We're not to be taken granted. This is the Torah that was written thousands and thousands of years ago. It was given to us by the holiest man on that planet at that time, called Moshe Rabbeinu, and which is written clearly that we've been chosen. We actually chose the Torah, and then the Torah chose us. So therefore, the Torah says, because you chose me, because you chose to be servants of Hashem, you are Am Segula, a special nation. You know what you guys are? You guys are like ambassadors to Hashem. It's a privilege.
Princes.
You're princes, that's right. You can lose that privilege, by the way. You can become a goy, gamur, and lose your privilege as a Jewish person. Do you know that?
Wait, what'd you say? You could ruin the privilege?
You can ruin it and lose it. You can lose the privilege of being in this category, in this club called the Am Segula Club, the special people, the holy people, the privileged people. You can lose that privilege. If you do, says the Rambam, an avera 3 times, a sin 3 times over, and we're told you, stop doing it, you are sort of cut out of the group. And you're considered to be...
We don't have a bad dean, so it doesn't apply, right?
No, that's not true. No.
So if you use
the witnesses?
Shabbat, you're out.
If...
Who's the witnesses warning you 3 times?
Exactly. You have to... there are parameters here. You need witnesses, and you need a bet din, a normal bet din. And they give you hatra'ah, meaning they tell you...
Like the stoning, and they never killed anyone? You know what I'm talking about?
That's right. For killing, we don't have a bet din. But for other things, we do have a bet din.
Rabbi, it's very detailed in the fact of what you're saying 3 times and stuff like that. Don't you think, or what can you shed light upon the fact of that every person is a different battle, and Hashem is forgiving on different factors? I know it's
for sure. That's right. So what I just told you about the 3 times, that's a general rule. We're talking about a rasha gamur. that absolutely does not want to take on any Jewish values whatsoever, he's called what's called in the Torah a Rasha Gamur. That means he's not interested. He doesn't come. Not like you guys are waking up at 7 o'clock in the morning to hear a shir and Torah. This doesn't apply to you whatsoever. We're talking about someone who's decided not to become and wants to leave the fold. A rebel, exactly. Who wants to leave the fold. An atheist. He wants to leave the fold. Not applying to normal Jewish people. Normal Jewish people, you talk sense to them. They have a yitzhara. They fall. They come back.
They feel bad, right?
That you have thousands of times to come back and do tshuva. All right, so it's good, Jack. I wanted to qualify it. We're talking about a rasha gamur. I'm just trying to the application though does apply though. If you consistently do it 3 times with no intention of bettering yourself, you only got 3 chances. Then you left the fold. So it's a privilege. That's all I want to say, guys. It's a Jewish privilege, and therefore think about that before jumping in bed with somebody you don't know.
You're saying, Rabbi, the fact that how special we are as a nation, how much we have in our hands, in our hearts, what Hashem has given us. On the opposite end, there's such a stringent kind of rule, you can call it, that 3 times Hashem is like it's really it has a sense to it. Then again, we have to always there's Hashem gave upon Israel, gave it to Moshe, right? The 13 attributes. Which are
Exactly,
important, right?
exactly. So if you fall, you do tshuva, that's erased. It's gone. It's like it never happens.
Right.
And then you go, you continue, come back millions of times, you fall, that's no problem. We're talking about a specific case, somebody who refuses to do tshuva.
Right.
That's something else.
That's strict. That makes sense.
Right, exactly. So again, just to summarize, we have tool number 1, the guilt and the ramifications. So before you feel the temptations coming over you, you've seen something that's really, your lust is burning inside of you. Think what's going to happen then right after the avera, after the sin, after you've done the action of sleeping with somebody you're not supposed to be sleeping with. How are you going to feel? That's number 1. Number 2, think about how special you are. You're ambassadors to Hashem, showing everybody on this whole planet how special, Am Sigula, how we are a privileged group of individuals, that we are chosen specifically. We're not a lot. Jews on this world are not a lot, a few million compared to the 7 billion or the 11 billion population that there are. We are a handful compared to the total population of the world.
But God's bigger than all of them.
And nevertheless, we're the most privileged of all. And that's going to be seen clearly as we're coming closer to the end of times. And the Mashiach is coming closer and closer to it. We're seeing the signs all the time that how special we actually are. And you see by the nation of Israel, by the way, Eretz Israel, how it survived living amongst all these Arab countries, tiny little speck on the earth, and it's populated to...
It's not living amongst, it's the most powerful nation in the whole region.
It's powerful nation.
Even
It really is insane.
Egypt, we were at the 49th level of impurification. Hashem took us out 1 more minute.
That's right.
Learn.
Rabbi, what do you think about the flooding in Iran also?
What's that? 1 second. Let's keep on topic. So therefore, we are privileged people. We are a privileged. We're given a special land, special powers,
A few weeks ago.
and that keeps us in shape. So you understand? So you got the tools that we're working. There's many more, but we're gonna have to stop it here. But so you got it here. So we have this important concept. What did we discuss today? We discussed the importance of understanding what true love is, and what is fish love. You got it, guys? You know what fish love is?
Fish love's the BS love.
This love is selfish love.
Selfish.
Right. And then we spoke about in today's class about what is temptation and how to overcome it. Okay?
How do you overcome?
With guilt, Elliot, you gotta feel bad. You gotta be like, oh man, I know it's gonna bring me.
You have to use guilt.
Use, like Jack said, the guilt is a gift. Use that gift to preempt what's going to be after it. How you're going to feel so like a shmata, they say, you know, like you're gonna feel so terrible and say, how did I lower myself for 30 seconds? And possibly everybody's gonna find out, and the embarrassment and the money that I lost, and so on and so forth, and losing my reputation, losing my wife, losing my job, losing so much on that fleeting pleasure. Think before you act.
Rabbi,
So, there's some people that are like lazy, you know, so it's easier to take the path of least resistance.
Path of least, but again, so you think about in the future what's going to happen, the guilt factor, the ramifications, the losing of the job, how you look at yourself, how do people look at you, okay? And then
positive light.
in a positive way, of course, don't become depressed, but
Before you do something like that.
exactly before you do it,
Positive and let it be your strength.
exactly, let that positivity of guilt be your strength to pull you through that particular challenge. And then the third one is understanding how privileged you are as ambassadors, and that privilege can be taken away in certain cases. And you have to live up to your expectations as a prince, an honorable prince, standing as a representation of all Klal Yisrael, of the people, of Jewish people. And that gives you prestige. That gives you a feeling of honor. And then you start thinking, how can I belittle myself to do such a disgusting act when you know that Hashem is looking at you? So when you think of those thoughts, that will stop you dead in your tracks.
Right.
That's so, so powerful.
And Rabbi,
Yeah.
can you tell us a little about good lusts, or did you already speak about that?
No, well, good lust is the actually opposite. You know,
The
when
opposite.
when you understand the
Lust for Torah, lust for...
that's right. All that is good, all that is nurturing, all that will make you feel truly good within your own skin, and which was prescribed in the Torah, that you have to go with total zealousness and go after with all your heart and strength. And that, as we said, the third Newtonian physics law will come into place. Guys, you know what I mean by that?
Every reaction has the opposite. Is that the one?
That's the one. Every action has an equal reaction. That's a third Newtonian law. And that's the midah keneged midah. So if you work with something with your positive lust for Torah learning, or giving tzedakah, or giving a loan to someone who needs it, that's going to come right back into your face with that same amount of energy and love and success. Okay?
Hashem.
B'ezrat Hashem. Okay, so good. We're going to have to stop it here, guys. And hope we learned something this lesson. And if you have any questions you want to send me by email or whatnot, please do. Okay?
Thank you again,